Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Accuracy in America, brought to you by Accuracy in Media. I'm your host, Don Irvine, joined by my co-host, Brian McNichol.
Hello, deplorables, dregs, despicables, chumps, Neanderthals, semi-fascists, and of course those dog-faced pony soldiers.
That's right. All right, so I decided to go the little relaxed route as we head right into the Thanksgiving holiday. I know Brian is always happy when he doesn't have to go like this. So, and I don't mind that either. It's liberating at times.
That's
So,
right.
hey, so you're home. So will you be away for Christmas or?
Yeah, be away for Christmas.
Okay. I was thinking earlier today. I'm thinking like, is he here or is he Louisiana? I can't remember how your patterns go.
Yeah, it's hard to go at Thanksgiving because it's a pretty short window,
Sure.
and we
Yeah.
have basketball. Like I got basketball all weekend, so
Okay. All right. So I try to remember that in my head. All right. Well, we do have, as I said, Thanksgiving week, and so I guess some of the news will slow down, but we have plenty to catch up on and things that have been happening, and not much I guess is really happening in the whole Russia-Ukraine situation, but we did have big news in the Middle East with this whole Israel Hamas. I mean, Israel has agreed to a temporary humanitarian pause so they can get some hostages back. Is this a good thing? I mean, Netanyahu had been pretty adamant about, he wanted all the hostages, but it looks like I guess there's a path to getting more back. They would extend every 10 hostages or something like that. They would extend it another day or something like that. Um, what's your feeling here?
well, first of all, to go back, there was actually some pretty significant news on Russia, Ukraine this week, and that is it came out that the government of the United States, as well as the UK, some other countries in Europe, are talking to the Ukrainians pretty seriously about trying to figure out an off ramp, right? Because either you got to sink a lot of money and manpower and material into reversing what Russia has about a third of the country now. The lines haven't moved in about 12 or 13 months. So you're either going to have to make a big investment in winning the war, or you're going to have to come to terms with the new reality, right? And so they're talking about what to do, what should be the next steps, and so forth. But the signal, the Biden administration has changed on this. American public opinion has changed on this, and it's not where it was a month or two ago. So I think you can expect to see some movement on that front. It will be slow and determined. There's not a lot of urgency this time of year because fighting slows down. It's very cold and snowy up there where they're doing this, but the pressure is now on the Ukrainians to either show some progress or accommodate the new reality.
Yeah, I mean, do you think? I mean, the fact that we're what 90. I guess it's like 92 days. That would be roughly 92 days from the 2-year mark. I think I wonder if it's beginning to wear on some people because it's been a very big slog, at this point in time. The Ukrainians, for their part, I mean, Ukraine, they've been remarkably resilient, but Russia just keeps throwing stuff at them.
And they can't, it's dug in now. So right. I mean, your air attacks don't have they're below, right? So you're not hurting them a whole lot with that anymore. And they're in it's trench warfare. It's World War I, and it's hard to move armies in that situation. They can stay and get supplied and keep fighting in that posture indefinitely. Especially the Russians, they have a lot of experience with this. So it's going to be up to Ukraine to figure out a next move.
Not that this would be a major campaign issue, but I kind of wonder in the back of my mind a little bit too whether or not the Biden administration looks at this and says we need to resolve this or do something before November of next year, and you show the public that we're actually making some progress, or we've got a solution that that President Biden actually has some idea what he's doing in foreign policy.
Right. There's they're not very good at it. They've had a lot of pretty spectacular failures, but they need to, no one's really quite sure how this will play out. If you notice what, like what Trump says about it is, I'll end it in one day. Okay. Maybe not. Right. I mean, it's not a hot war all that often right now anyway. So when you say you end it in one day, it's not impossible, but how would he do that, and what would that look like? And that's not really, yes, we should keep giving Ukraine a lot of money to fight this war that they can't really make any progress with, or no, we shouldn't. Right? He's not really committed on that point. He's just saying, he will use his diplomatic bully pulpit to make it end soon. So, and I think that, no one's against it ending soon, and no one's against, some third party making a deal that we can't imagine right now that resolves it. Right. I mean, who knows what would go into a Trump bargain to end it in one day? How would he do that? Who knows? Right. Biden doesn't know either. All he knows is that, Trump is committed to ending it. And, Trump's, he's the one whose support is growing. And so, you somehow got to figure out a way to get to, yes, I'm also working on ending it.
Is it fair to say too, though, that with the whole situation in Israel, that, when it comes to, foreign policy type of things, the focus is shifted to that stage, that stage probably, I mean, the whole other thing in Israel is probably more hitting home for us because, American citizens, live in Israel. American citizens have been captured by Hamas. They've been killed. There's much more involvement there. Ukraine, it's much more distant. We don't have as much skin in the game, kind of a thing.
Yeah, right. And this is also a conflict with Israel. I'm talking about with a potential to widen significantly and quickly, and involves, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of history there, and it's sucking up the attention of the foreign policy community in a way that Ukraine no longer is. So, that's part of it. Is like, it's kind of hard to manage this with this other thing going on. I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your take now on what's going on in Israel with this this pause?
I don't think it's a good idea. I think that, I understand where they're coming from. So the pressure that's on the pressure that matters to the Israeli government right now is coming from the families of the hostages who are saying, whatever, take any deal, get our mom, daughter, son, whatever back. Right. And so that's what they're responding to. They feel no sympathy towards Hamas or whatever, but that person is still, we may be alive, and if we can get them back, let's get them back. Okay, so that's what they're trying to accomplish. But the fact is, there's a limited use of that. There's a limited shelf life of that too. I think that they're going to have to go back in and denude Hamas to a point that Hamas cannot attack Israel again. And there's still a lot of work left to be done on that. And a lot of destruction and bombs and death and whatnot, because that's got to get finished.
Yeah, I mean, Hamas. I mean, the hostages are Hamas's biggest bargaining chip, though, right? I mean,
right.
as long as they hold those Israeli citizens and whatnot, it's hard.
And American citizens.
It's hard for Israel to really pound them. As soon as they get the last one back, it's just that's it. I mean, to me, I mean, I think they can go after them with, force, and they can wipe them out because, I'm just sick and tired of having Hamas just keep coming back, and doing these things time after time.
Right. That's right. That's about right.
That's a good one.
Right. So, but here's the thing about it is like, they don't. Here the operative question, and I think I've said this on here before, is, what anybody who's on Hamas side in any way of this is to say, okay, what about Israel? What should they do? What should be done to protect them? Okay, they got no answer for that, because their answer is that they should be driven into the ocean and killed, and that's their answer, right? But they're not going to say that, but that's their answer. So they're not offering peace. There's no deal to be worked out here. This is not some kind of budding freedom revolution effort. This is thugs trying to kill the other side.
What is going on here, though, in terms of this support for Hamas here in America? What has caused that? Is this the media, largely responsible for this?
You have a lot of leftist media. You have, the MSDNC, their chief guy covering this has said that, Christians and Jews are animals and it's Muslims' duty to kill them. Right. This is a newsman. This is a guy on TV every day talking about this issue. And he's, it's a record, it's on video. He can't deny it. Right. Who said they're animals and they should be killed. And it's the mission of Muslims to kill them. Okay. So if that's your view, what are you doing on the news talking about this? Right. But that's who's shaping public opinion. And so what's happening is, there's always this argument in the country about who's really the racist party or racist side of the political debate. It's getting settled now. The actual racists, the people who truly believe in racism, who truly believe that people are different because of their race and some are superior to others, are the left, and they cannot help but show it now. They are getting exposed as never before.
Yeah, and I'm glad for that in that sense, because this is something that's driven me crazy for 20 years or more.
Yeah.
In terms of this
hateful people, and they're this is a thing where they think they have a license to hate, and they're just dumping it all out, thinking as fast as they can.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have seen just time after time the left talk preaching about conservatives and others being racist and accusing the Republican Party of being racist and all of these things, but you and I both know they're the ones that are to blame. They're the ones that are.
They classify everybody by group, right? Yeah, that's right.
There's truth to that too.
There's truth to that too.
Yeah, what really disturbs me though, I should have figured out how to do this, and I didn't do this. And just the thought just occurred to me as we went on the air here. So my old high school, Northwood High School, which closed for a number of years and then reopened, and you're pretty familiar with Montgomery County and all their schools. So one of apparently a former student of theirs, someone who's probably a little bit younger than I am at this point in time, maybe even a parent or something of a current student or whatever, somehow she's tied into some message board or whatever they do at Northwood. And she posted on Facebook to somebody else about, this pro-Palestinian, thing that they want to do. They wanted to have a walkout, and maybe it was occurring. Maybe it occurred this week or whatever, but like a 7th period walkout, wear colors of Palestine. And I'm just like, holy, I just had to confirm with her. This was indeed, Northwood High School in Silver Spring, Maryland, deep in the heart of some of the highest Jewish population around.
It's about a third of the Jews in America live in New York City. The next biggest jurisdiction for Jewish population in the entire United States is Montgomery County. Yeah,
I mean, you can't get away. I mean, I grew up less than 2 miles away from where Northwood High School is, right? Which also means I'm very close to Kent Mill, which during my youth was heavily populated with Jews. There's a synagogue there right at the right by the shopping center. Right. You'd go on Saturdays, you'd see the faithful Jews go to synagogue and all of this stuff on the whole Friday nights, Saturday thing that they're doing. And so, and I had many Jewish friends throughout the time I went to school in Montgomery County, and no problem with them. Well and fine. I mean, and yet, the idea that the students are now holding this pro-Palestine, wear Palestine colors right there. I'm like, I couldn't believe it. That's why I had to come. I was like, this is happening at my former high school. who is allowing this to happen, and how is this going on? And this always drives me crazy. I mean, this goes back, when my kids were in school, how the schools tolerate these walkouts during class.
Right. And even encourage them, right? You have
Yeah.
teachers encouraging them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like at Marty's school, they did it too. He's like, I played Uno, Dad, the whole time. Like, thanks, son.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable. And that's just, this is still, goes to, something that, I have a big concern at, is just the young people of America, all these students, how much indoctrination they're being, given by the left. And
Right.
for
And you
parents,
saw, I don't know if you saw this yesterday, speaking of indoctrination, in the last 2 days, New York and California have both announced that they are going to buy these programs for K-12 education that have to do with media literacy. They're going to teach kids media literacy. You know what media literacy is? It's how to figure out, it's how to spot disinformation. What does spot disinformation mean? It means, if it's not the government approved leftist version of events, it's disinformation, right? So, I mean, they're essentially telling people to ignore everything but conservative, but leftist viewpoints, right? They're going to teach kids as a programmatic thing in K-12 education in the two of the four biggest most populous states in the country, that leftist is good, conservative is bad, as a part of their curriculum.
Yeah, and so I can well imagine that there is some form of Soros type funding or something in that sphere that's behind this, through the ProPublicas of the world, or the Media Matters, or wherever you want to do it. But you could create an organization, innocuous sounding organization, but just have all that leftist money funneling it to create that coursework, and the schools will, they scoop it up just like they have a lot of other things over the years.
Well, there's companies that make these programs, right?
Yeah.
That design these programs, that are, a lot of them are also in the ad rating business, where they say, oh, this publication's not reliable enough to put ads in, right? It's cranks and it's not true. Well, what's crank and not true about it? Well, it's conservative, right? So they rate conservative media as unreliable and leftist media as reliable, right? And so when you go to advertise, well, I don't want to be in the unreliable, hack journalism, right? I want to be in the one that's true, right? And so, then they go to people and they have deals with the advertising groups and so forth. It's going to be a big problem. That is part of what Elon Musk is mad about, and why he's getting ready to sue. Yeah, that's right. Well, okay, I'll say about that too. Okay, so he's talking about is this guy who's in trouble for saying, clouding the details on when the election was held, right? And so, you can mock the other candidate any which way you want, but if you start messing with what day the election is held, you're going to get in trouble, right?
Yeah, this whole thing definitely bothers me to a great extent. That I've been involved in watching education for a number of years, for decades as well, and we have seen the deterioration of public education. What was remarkable too is just that, I don't know if you saw this, it was a few weeks ago that Washington Post did this article on the rise of homeschooling. With a chart just showing the skyrocketing, attendance, in terms of enrollment there, where public education was down, like, public schools were down like 4%, and the teachers unions, they're unabashed. I mean, we're the stuff that we're talking about here with what's going on in the schools, whether it's public schools or whether even it's academia, on this whole pro-Hamas stuff that's going on. It's like, is it any wonder, why people are moving this way? The COVID policies that we have criticized, for a number of years. I mean, lo and behold, the New York Times is like, we now have the evidence is in, and it's really startling about the learning loss in education under COVID. Hello.
Yeah, can you believe this was a failure? This was a policy failure. Wow.
Yeah, it's like how many people have were screaming and yelling on top of their lungs. Is like, no, get those schools open. You can't teach these kids remotely. This is not a good idea, and the kids are going to be fine if they're in school. But the New York Times was at the forefront, with a lot of
Yeah,
other liberal media.
just completely arrogant and dismissive about the whole thing.
Right, right, and of course, when they write about stuff like this, they never talk about how they framed this during COVID, right?
That's right.
It's just kind of like, here's the evidence is in, we see all the studies now, and here's what it is. So we need to report this to you. By the way, we're just going to leave out all the stuff we said where we endorsed the lockouts,
Right.
and all of this, that we help contribute to this. By the way,
Right.
amazing.
That's right. They're having to eat a lot of crow, and they're about to have to eat a lot more because
Yeah,
a
yeah.
bunch of their receipts are coming due.
Yeah, but it's like we're now left with, really, to me now, Media Research Center, because I dismiss accuracy in media because they've gone off on a whole different tangent anyway, in terms of trying to hold the media accountable for stuff like this.
Right.
So this is it. So yeah, maybe this is some kind of heresy considering my heritage, but I have to be honest in terms of the direction of how things have gone in the whole conservative media, criticism, and accountability type of thing world.
Right.
So good for them that they've stayed on track for that. Also, relation to this, Elon Musk caught a lot of flack for stuff they just now. Elon is Elon. I don't, nothing surprises me when he does things. I shake my head a lot of stuff, but the criticism comes down hard, and this whole thing about supporting this anti-Semitic guy, and the whole retweeting and all this stuff, or posting, Xing, whatever they want to call it. But do we really know? Is Elon Musk anti-Semitic? Where does he stand on? I really don't. He seems to be just this guy that just kind of floats around and says whatever is up, on top of his mind. But I don't know.
Right. It's like, he retweeted someone, and it's not, the guy, the retweet, the tweet it's a long list of stuff, right, that's in that tweet. And so, you're pulling out. I don't understand like what part of that he was saying I agree with, right?
Yeah.
And so no one's asked him, so it's just because it's much easier to just call him names than to figure out what he was actually saying.
Yeah, Elon is he's a lightning rod, right? It's ever since he bought Twitter and turned it into X, and all the things that he's done there that have probably been probably given the edge to the conservative / libertarian side, and diminished the liberals. And so you have liberals, saying that they're fleeing it and all this stuff. But have there really been that many? I use it. There's still people who use it. There's some hardcore people probably on both sides that say I'm not going to touch that because I just can't stand Elon Musk. But Elon is, he put up his money. He spent his money. It's his property. He can do whatever he wants with it. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I still think there's value in Twitter /X. You can still get things done and still have some relationships and some community with things. And I use it, to complain about corporate policies of things like that. And 9 times out of 10, I hear from the corporation saying, let's DM or follow up with this. And so, there's even though there's all this, this is what gets me too, all this Sturm and Drang about Elon Musk and Twitter. The thing is that a lot of the big corporations still have a social media team that monitors,
Right.
X. And if there are people that are complaining about their airline flights, their bad hotels or whatever, they're on it like white on rice,
Right.
So, they're there. Though I'm going to say that so far my biggest disappointment lately was Carl's Jr. So I don't know. Have you ever been to a Carl's Jr. before?
Yeah.
Okay. So Carl Karcher, who founded Carl's Jr., was a staunch conservative in his lifetime, big pro-life guy, actually donated like $100 here, $100 there to AIM every few years and stuff like that. Eventually, was pushed out, sold out, Hardee's combined it. And
that guy's conservative, Puzder or whatever.
Yeah, well, he took over. He was very conservative. He left. It's now the CKE, Enterprises, because Pudzer has joined this whole other outfit that was pushing these anti ESG funds, kind of thing, like the thing I was working with and stuff like that. But those guys they couldn't get enough traction, so they actually have folded up their funds.
I got to go for 1 minute. I'll be right back.
Yep. Okay.
Something's come up.
All right. So as I was saying with Pudzer, so they've changed that, but there's been a lot of this talk about the anti-ESG movement, which is basically falling flat on its face as a result of people don't really care about that anymore. There's no money in it. So when there's no money in it, everybody leaves, right? And so, the capitalism survives and thrives because, the money goes one way, thinking that they're going to make money. And then when they find out that because the green movement is falling flat on its face, there's no money to be made in it, it goes the other way. Funds rename themselves. They thought, oh, it's great to be green. Now they realize it's not so great to be green anymore with that. So we're seeing a very big change in all of that, that goes on with all of these things that happen in this world today. But, with all of this stuff that happens, where are we going to be? Where does the stock market go from here? Probably more up than down in the long run, which is a good thing for a lot of people and people who have been maligning their 401ks and whatnot lately. But we're kind of in this end of the year rally situation and doing all these things. So, as a stockholder as an investor for a long time, I want that. I need that. That's my retirement, and keeps me going. So, for my late son, his widow, that's the same thing. They need that as well. So Brian has returned, so I will stop with that. But with all this stuff about Musk and all of these things, he's going to continue to be a lightning rod. But my Carl's Jr. thing that I did want to just address. So I use a lot of apps. I'll order food on an app and go pick it up. So when I was staying in Utah, there was a Carl's Jr. in the parking lot, basically, of the Hampton Inn in Lehigh, Utah. So I had this craving for a milkshake. So I get in there. I actually went to the restaurant and I thought I'd order on the app and maybe just give them the number or whatever. And it's a strange thing. It's like you actually have to order on the app. There's like no number. There's no QR code to give to the cashier. You have to order it, and then they will then give it to you, right? So I sat down. I ordered this milkshake, and then I go to the front counter. I go to the counter and I said, "Okay, my order's in, and it's for a milkshake." This is like at 8 o'clock at night. There's hardly anybody in there. And this guy looks at me and he goes, "I'm sorry, we don't have any milkshakes." I'm like, okay, so you'll cancel the order. He goes, we can't cancel the order. We have no control over the app. You'll have to call customer service. I'm like, are you kidding me? You took my money and you can't cancel the order because you don't have it. It's strange that I understand in some ways that the app is it's tied into all their franchises, but right. And if the franchise can't honor the product, the franchise ought to be able to say, can't do it, and just kill the order so that the order doesn't process.
You got to be able to cancel orders.
Yeah. So I've been kind of waiting. I've been back for what? A week, whatever. So looks like I'm gonna have to call the credit card company. It's only $5.39, but I don't have a credit back on my credit card. I'm just like, I really don't want to pay for something I never received.
Right. $5.39. How big is this milkshake?
No, look, inflation, friend. Nothing is as big as it used to be. It's it was going to be the standard size milkshake. These days. Yeah, remember, nothing is. You don't get anywhere near as much as you used to. Thanks to.
I know. I was in the store last night. It was frightening.
Yeah, I mean, and so that's a good segue into our Bidenflation segments, in terms of, once again, I mean, here we are, so the last report was that there was 0% inflation, I guess, month to month or whatever, compared, but we know that there's still inflation is, we still are paying more money, well over what, 20% than we were before. The prices are not really coming down. And as you
Right.
say,
And the last month it went up. It went up 0.4. It went up from 3.2 to 3.6. So it is going back up again. It just the last one that came out, it was starting to go back up.
well, they had some report, because
The month before they said there was, the rate of inflation stayed the same. That doesn't mean that prices stayed the same. That means that it was going up 3,000 miles. That's all you got to do.
Hello, may I help you? I am not in America.
Yeah.
Right?
But
I'm going to solve your problem from halfway across the world.
right.
Good luck, John.
They but it has started to go back up. Inflation has started to go back up, and people need to understand. We were still having inflation. It just the rate of inflation was not increasing for a short period of time, right? And it's still, I mean, even at the lowest rate it got to, which was 3.2, that's more than twice what it was when Trump left office. It was 1.4 when he left office. So they have not solved inflation. The target that, the Fed says it wants inflation at or near 2% and is willing to, cut, have rate cases until rate increases, I guess, until they achieve that, right? So that looks less and less achievable all the time now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that gets me with this, it's just that Biden, I mean, use the figures to try to paint this rosy picture. We've got this under control. We know how to handle the economy because, inflation is now, lower. It's only at 3%, or it's only at 2%, or it's only at 4%, whatever the number may be in any given month. Instead of those 8, 9, 10% numbers that we were facing before. Once again, as you have pointed out, inflation was very minimal under Trump, and it had been that way for generally a long time. We'd had moderate inflation, barely perceptible. Prices barely budged in a lot of areas. You get some shrinkflation going on, products shrinking while the price stayed the same and stuff like that. But, this inflation has just shaken people to their core because you just see prices have, they went through the roof for things. They don't, they have, some things have come back down. We talk about, eggs. Eggs are cheaper than they were, 6 months ago, but they're still a heck of a lot more expensive than they were, a couple of years ago.
Right.
So, and there's a floor there that we're probably not going to get below too much. I mean, it's probably not going to get much lower than where it is now, in all likelihood. So you see these things where this is, get used to this new normal of where the prices are going to be, because that is where they're going to go from as the base. And you may see a few cents, deviation, but it's not going to be a great deal of of savings anymore. So you better find a way to make more money or save money somehow, because this is it. And this on gas prices, the thing that got me, was what a few days ago was this tweet comes out from the Biden administration. Gas prices are down like $1.71. This is great. Just before Thanksgiving, and I'm like, yeah, that means you're talking about gas prices that had gone down from like $5 to like $3.30. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, you still got $1.50 to go.
Right,
You're on the right track.
You're still well over $1 higher than when Trump left office, and I don't know if it's the holiday or whatever happened. I was really surprised this morning. I decided to check the price at Sheetz, because we have a Sheetz in the neighborhood now, and so it's kind of a barometer of cheap gas, right? The Sheetz is the Wawas. I mean, if I had a Costco, I'd do the same thing. So the Sheetz over near us, 5 miles away, had been $2.99 for a long period of time. I checked it this morning; it's $3.19. It's
So
like,
back
wait a
up.
minute. It went up 20 cents within the last week. I was at the sheets about a week ago, buying a milkshake and getting gas, testing out the milkshakes
How
over
big was
there.
that milkshake?
It wasn't very big, but it was really good because I have this pumpkin thing, and they were still
That's
selling.
right.
So I had them make me a pumpkin cheesecake milkshake, even past my wife's taste test, because if it passes her taste test, I'm doing okay, because she's not a big aficionado of a lot of these things. So, but I noticed that too, so I decided to check on Gas Buddy, a few other prices in the area, or in the last few days, the prices has popped by by anywhere from 5 to 10 cents, and other stations. I'm like, okay, is yet oil prices I don't think have really changed that much lately. So there's something going on here, and we'll have to. I'm going to wait till after Thanksgiving to see whether or not whether or not it comes back down again there. But when I have been paying less than $3 a gallon for gas, that I consider a small victory. Now I can't find a station in my area for under $3 anymore again.
It's still right at 350 here in Reston.
Yeah, so it takes some doing to get those prices, and you got to shop around. What about, so Biden turned 81? There was I don't know, the Wall Street Journal had a short editorial about how selfish Biden was for running again at the age of 81, considering everything that we've seen from him, right? I mean, it's like, how does anybody? I mean, the Democrats are, I think they get more worried by the day. The more that Joe opens his mouth, it's kind of like, what are we doing? How do we save this election?
Yeah, they're in a box because we're not far from the point where ballots are going to start getting printed, and so you get to a point you can't take him off the ballot, and they don't really the polling shows that he does better. He's losing to Trump. He's losing. Trump is starting to pull away a little bit. But Newsom and Kamala Harris and these other people do worse. So he's there. It's ride or die with Biden. For them, and you don't even know that he will make it to the starting line, right? You don't even know that he will make it to the next election. They're already, and this has been, the Post has even written about this, that there's a lot of their staff work is involved in protecting us from Joe being real old, right? And protecting Joe. Like they give him, I mean, do you think they ever gave Trump index cards that said, call on the person in the fourth seat, her name is Lorena, and she's going to ask you this, and here's your answer? Do you think that ever happened under Trump? No, you have to do that because he's not prepared, and he cannot prepare. He cannot concentrate that long. And so, and the things they do to get him sentient to like meet world leaders and stuff, God only knows. There should be a toxicology test after this to see like what all they're pumping into him to get him to stand upright, but it's getting worse. I mean, you can tell the bumbles and the forgetfulness and so forth. And what's funny is like Trump trolls them, right? He says, he'll be talking about something they did. He'll say the Obama administration did. So he thinks Obama's president. You're talking about Trump, Biden being senile. Trump thinks Obama's president. Trump is doing that. He is very deliberate about what he does, right? He's making you think, that, hey, in the back room, Obama's running up the scene, right? That's long been an accusation that Republicans have made against Democrats. I'm not sure how true it is, but it's, it damages. It says that, the person we think we're being led by is a puppet, right? And I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but I saw a news story that said that as part of his visit to the United States, President Xi of China asked Biden for money, asked Biden for almost $1 trillion, like $950 billion in aid to China, and supposedly Biden is trying to talk Congress into doing it. So it's like, it's like that's like the Israeli ceasefire. It's like, how can you take these deals, right? You know, but I mean, you know, Biden makes a lot more money from the Chinese than he does from us. So, you know, he has to try to make it happen. He's you know, he's bought off. He's bound to this policy choice.
Yeah, I mean, even any whiff of anything like that, true otherwise, I mean, still just puts him in a bad light. I mean, Biden, what was it? He was with Newsom in California, and he tried to joke about, Newsom can have the job he's going for. It's like, who Joe, where did you come up with that? It's like, that was a dumb thing to say, at this point in time, because it only just fuels, the more speculation about that stuff. I mean, Gavin Newsom is not ready for that anyway, but still, the idea that he throws that out there, even trying to joke about it, is really kind of dumb. And I just kind of I can only imagine, his age, of people like, no, what are you doing? Don't give anybody any ideas that there should be somebody else besides you.
Right. And I guess the Newsom DeSantis debate is back on.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. So which tells you, and another thing, that plays a role in this, right? Because it played a big role last time, is Ronna McDaniel told him not to do this, right? Ordered DeSantis not to participate in this debate. So if he's comfortable defying her orders, then we need a new RNC chair, right? We have somebody who's getting ignored by the presidential candidates, right? There's a problem there that we need to solve, and you kind of have to solve it by changing who's in charge. So, I look for some changes coming there. I think the pressure on her is mounting, and she cannot. I don't think the Republican Party has confidence to go forward with her over the next year or two. So I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I mean, right now we don't really know what 2024, what the election is going to look like. I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen until all the votes are cast. But if anything turns south on the Republicans, if they don't win, if we don't win the White House, if we don't retain control of Congress, and we still have a shot, I guess, at taking control of the Senate.
Yeah, a shot that was improved by Manchin getting out.
Right. Then I think she's definitely in the hot seat, for that. You cannot continue if you lose those elections like that. There's an opportunity that the Democrats have given us, and they need to take that. Another thing about Biden in this, I was thinking, the stumble he made with this cultural reference. Here's Joe Biden trying to be cool with Beyonce and Taylor Swift, and then he throws in Britney Spears in there and totally mangles the whole thing. And I'm like, was that on the teleprompter at all? That he just bungled the teleprompter?
That's him trying to think. You can just see the aides in the back going,
"Yeah." Is he trying to be cool, thinking like, I can be cool because there's all this stuff, and I know this in my head, and then he spits it out and he gets it all wrong. It's like, no, these people have got to find a way to control, to keep, to pull some string to say, as soon as he does that, they shut him up or something or other. Something is
right. So you got a guy that you got to shut him up, right? You remember the bunny at Easter last year? Don't talk to the press, right? I mean, Trump doesn't have a bunny going like that, right? I would feel concerned for the bunny if he did, right?
Yeah.
So, that's when people talk about the age, right? It's not the number. Oh, Trump's only 3 years younger. It's, where are you in the aging process? And I think people look at Joe and, shaking hands with people who are not there, and the way he walks and the way he doesn't seem to be paying attention, and the way he's hidden from the media, and the way that, everything that he does is carefully scripted and short, and he's shuffled off. And, Joe's already taken more vacation time than Trump took in his entire presidency. So, part of what they do with Joe is send him to Delaware, right? So that you can't see how senile he is. But, at some point he's going to have to come out on stage, and he's going to have to face Trump. And, it didn't go well last time, and it figures to go well. And the other thing is that it's working against him now that wasn't then, is you've seen them both be president now, right? I mean, Biden's 3 years in, Trump served a term. So when you're comparing who would do best, right? You have all the evidence you need. You really don't need to hear from the political people at all, right? You don't need anything interpreted for you because, we've seen how the country performed. And, the 9% inflation, what are you up to 5 quarters of negative growth now during this administration? Just now, I think the last quarter was the first quarter in the since the first quarter of the Biden presidency in which earnings grew at a faster rate than inflation, right? So there's been 2 quarters of that, the one closest to Trump and the last one. So, a third of America's pensions wiped out. Mortgages 8%, virtually no housing starts in the country right now, right? Because you can't sell the houses. Energy, like we talked about, it's still, 30, 40%. And we're just entering winter, right? So right now, one of the things that's helping Biden is that the price of diesel is down some, right? Diesel was higher than gasoline for a long time, and it's stabilized some, right? But diesel and heating oil are basically the same thing. So you're about to need a bunch of heating oil, especially up in our part of the country and up north of us, where it's going to be quite cold here the next few months. So, you will see a lot of demand and you will see prices go back up. So the Democrats' thing is attack Trump some more and talk about corporate greed, right? The corporations were not greedy under Trump. But when Biden was elected, the corporations of America became greedy and started gouging consumers. That's their case, right? That's what they're saying. This is just everything would be fine if the corporations didn't greedily gouge Americans, right? So, it's nothing's their fault. There's nothing they can do to fix it. It's just, greedy corporations, right? I don't think that that's much of a case, right? And the rest of the entirety of the rest of their case for voting for them is abortion, right? The main thing they're selling is abortion.
Right. I mean, and the whole greedy corporations thing, that is the main line for Elizabeth Warren.
Right. And you're not going to win any votes with that, right? No one's going to say, oh yeah, you're right, greedy corporations. No, because they weren't greedy until Biden became president, right? And it's like, why did they become greedy January 20th, 2021? Why did that happen? The other thing that's running its course is these attempts to take Trump off the ballot. There's in New Hampshire, I guess, ruled against them yesterday. So they're now 0-6. The lady in Colorado, the judge, who's a wacko, who actually contributed to an effort to take Trump off the ballot, an organization that was purporting to do this. So why she was the judge of the case is puzzling to me. But she said, well, we think Trump probably did participate in an insurrection, but we don't think this law applies to the president, which is a bizarre misreading of all the events. So it remains to be seen, but it's like no other court is going to accept her finding that Trump led an insurrection, right? He's never been charged with that, let alone been convicted of it. So they're 0-6 and they're going to lose the rest of them. And at some point, you hope the people that wasted money on this give up on it, right, and realize that they were wrong to try to take someone off the ballot who the voters clearly want on the ballot.
Okay, I meant to ask you about this earlier, and I just kind of skipped over it, which was the election of Javier Milei. I pronounce his last name, in Argentina. That was a big win. I mean, that was
a big win for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw, and those candidates mirror our candidates. The loser of that thing was a Biden. He was a statist, old line. I'm part of the old government. We'll work our way through these hard times, and it's okay. And we'll just apply the solutions we've always applied, right? And Milei is a Trump. He wants to fix it by disrupting it, shaking it right down to its foundations and rebuilding it. And, Argentina, they went for that. It was like 56-44. It wasn't even close. And so I guess yesterday he announced that Ministry of Women and Equity or something will close in 21 days. So he's just going to start closing these things. I don't know what the 21 days is needed for, but I guess clean out your office or whatever. But they're done. They'll be out of business in 21 days.
Yeah,
so I'm excited. I'm excited. I think it's like before the 2016 election. Brexit won, Orban won. There was some other, in the UK, the Conservative Party prevailed in an election, so you could kind of see. Yeah, that's right. Well, things are happening on the DEI front too. So I guess you saw Iowa ordered all its colleges to cancel their DEI offices and send everybody packing. They gave this order yesterday. I think they became the fourth state to do that. I think some pretty big ones are next on the list. So you'll start to see Republican governors ending DEI in state universities all over the country. It's already underway. But that's a good point. So yeah, a lot of what they're doing, I mean, it's a day of reckoning in a lot of ways for the left. And, the lies that they've sold us are coming home to roost.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fascinating to see Milei get elected. The question will be, what he'll be able to accomplish. I just think that the infrastructure, the way the system is set up, he's gonna have a rough time to try to get things changed in some ways. But he's gonna make. I mean, obviously, what you just said there in terms of what he's already done, that's a start. Let's go ahead and close. Let's go ahead and do what you can do. The people in these countries they tend to have a very short fuse. If you don't get things done the way you promised pretty fast, they turn on you on a dime. So
he's delivering. 48 hours in, he was canceling departments. So, yeah, that's right. That's right. The Texas A&M was trying to fight him over this. You'll lose.
Yeah.
Voters didn't vote for Texas A&M. They voted for Abbott.
Hopefully he'll, hopefully Milei will be able to succeed. So I always find that these leaders in South America and in Central America tend to be on a relatively short leash, particularly if you're a populist of kind of the conservative ideals where you're
changing the direction,
capitalist type of thing. So, let's I'm crossing my fingers and hoping I've got a good friend of mine who lived down there for a while and then moved over to Colombia, but maybe he'll move back to Argentina. I mean, he's an American, but if things get better in Argentina, I think he moved to Colombia because he thought it was just a better situation for him. So we'll have to wait and see with that on the DEI thing. Yeah, look, I'm on favor of anything that gets rid of DEI. There was this article, the story about when we're talking about pro Hamas and the school system. We had that there was a teacher, in Montgomery County, and she's on. I think they put her on leave, I guess. But not only had she espoused some pro Hamas views, it also turned out she was like a DEI instructor, in the school system. It's like, I hadn't really looked deeply into this, but I'm not surprised in a sense that there's a DEI person in the public school system, but they need to get them out of there.
Yeah. And I mean, Montgomery County, spends more on administration than any county in the country.
Yeah,
right?
You're right. The county is just top management overload, right?
Right.
I mean,
so it's if liberals had unlimited resources, you would have Montgomery County. If the leftists could govern with no cap on the amount of money they have to deal with, you would have Montgomery County. Right? It still doesn't work. Even with unlimited resources, it still doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, look, Montgomery County just has all they've done for decades is just increase middle management. They just keep stuffing that with more former principals, assistant principals, and whatever. They all
coordinators of this and that.
They all
these guys. And the thing, people need to understand. Your average teacher makes about $60,000 a year. These guys make $110,000 a year.
Right.
So if you give Montgomery County more money, you won't get more $60,000 classroom teachers, you'll get more 110,000 coordinators and administrators.
Right, and that's part of a big lie. When the school board, when they're trying to get more money, for the school system, is that it's mostly going
wasted the last batch, right?
Yeah,
go get the last batch, fire some of those guys.
It's really not getting to the teachers in the classrooms like it should be, and then they'll keep coming back and saying we need more. It's like, what'd you do with the other money? It's like it really just burns me that all my property taxes continue to increase on a regular basis, and all it does is fund all this bloat and all these liberal administrators that don't do diddly squat for us,
right,
and are not there for the education of the kids.
That's right.
Drives me nuts. All right, we got to wrap up, so finish this off.
So let's see. Let me see what was on our list that we did not get to. I'm fine if they cancel the remaining debates. I think they've shot their wad. Nikki Haley's done. Yeah, that's right. The Louisiana's elected some serious conservatives, so you should see some serious policy coming out of there. The last time we had this much conservative control of government, the governor was Bobby Jindal, who was not a serious conservative or a serious anything, and that really hurt him. Let's see. Electric vehicles look to be past their prime. Companies don't want to make them anymore, so they're too expensive. The supplies are too hard to get. There's a lot of complications with it. I don't know what's going to happen with these, 2035 deadlines and so forth, but it's not good. I would have told MLB to stuff their All-Star game where the sun don't shine if I was Atlanta, but that's just me. And what we hear about Reese, Angel Reese, is, a couple of interesting things there. One of the things I heard is that she has grade problems, right? She's in the final year of her master's program. She already has a degree, and she's supposedly making at or near $1 million a year. So she's well compensated, and she may be skipping some classes, So, but here's the thing about this. So, the coach is a prideful person, Kim Mulkey, right? She grew up in Hammond, Louisiana, about 60 miles east of Baton Rouge. They scheduled a game so Kimmy could go home, right? They played at Southeastern Louisiana in Hammond the other night. Sold out crowd, 8,000 people. Reese not there, okay? December 20th, they're supposed to play at Coppin State. Now, why are they playing at Coppin State? So Reese could have a home game, right? She's from the Baltimore area. They certainly couldn't ask Maryland to do it because that's where she was before. I'm anxious to see what Kimmy does about that, right? Because there's a game scheduled specifically so Reese would get to play in front of her home fans, right? So she messed up Kimmy's homecoming, and I'm anxious to see what Kimmy does with hers.
All right. And I just want to say briefly before I close too, also, I had completely neglected this, and I apologize to any of those out there, that this is also the 60th anniversary of the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
That's right.
A very pivotal moment in our history and something we should not forget.
Right. And neither me or Don were responsible, but everyone else probably was.
It's okay. All right. I'll finish there on that comment. But everybody, thanks again for joining us today. Please, as always, stay safe and stay well. Remember, we live in the greatest country in the world. Do not let anyone ever tell you otherwise. And as always, God bless America. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we will see you again next week.